With there only being 2 weeks left in the regular season, bowls have become a hot topic. In today's video, we're going to take a look at every 4 and 5 win team and look at the remaining schedule to see if they are going to make a bowl game or not. I'm only going to do this for the Power 5 as I don't have time to cover every single team. But right before we get into it, nearly 80% of you guys aren't subscribed, so quickly be sure to do that, smash that like button for the algorithm, and turn on post notifications so you never miss when I upload. Now, let's get started. The first conference we're going to take a look at is the ACC, and there are multiple squads who are on the fringe of getting to bowl eligibility. The first school we're going to look at is Louisville. At this point in the year, the Cardinals are 5 and 5 and just need one more win to get to bowl eligibility. When you take a look at their schedule, they play at Duke this weekend and then at home against Kentucky. Honestly, I think they will have no issue beating the Blue Devils on the road, but I do think they will lose to Kentucky at home. At this point, I have Louisville going 6-6, and yes, they are going to get bowl eligible. Florida State saved their bowl hopes when they beat Miami this past weekend, but they have a tough journey to get to bowl eligibility. Right now, they are 4-6, and they play on the road against Boston College and at Florida. I might get some hate from this, but I don't think they're going to win either one of these games. While Florida is struggling right now, I think they're at least going to play good enough to beat Florida State in the last week. Sorry, Florida State, but I think you're going to end up going 4-8. Syracuse is a very difficult example. Currently, the Orange are 5 and 5, and they have 2 pretty difficult games to end the year. They will go on the road to number 16 NC State, and I think that will end up being a loss, and then they get number 21 Pitt at home. While I think it's possible they pull off some magic, I think Pitt's going to win that last game, and sadly for Syracuse fans, I think you guys are going to end up going 5-7. Miami has had a weird year as well, but they have a prime opportunity to get to a bowl game. The first game is at home against Virginia Tech, and then they are on the road against Duke. Despite them losing to Florida State last week, I think the Hurricanes are good enough to beat both of those teams, as Fuente was just fired, and apparently David Cutcliffe is likely retiring, so I think both of those teams are going to end up falling off, and Miami's going to finish the year at 7-5. As I just mentioned, Justin Fuente was fired, and Virginia Tech currently sits at 5-5. They need one more win to make a bowl game, and I think they are going to get it. It won't come on the road against Miami, but they pretty much dominate the series against Virginia, and with Brennan Armstrong being hurt, I think Virginia Tech will go on the road and beat their arch rival of the Virginia Cavaliers and get to 6-6. Finally, we get to the last school in the ACC, and it is another 5-5 team, and that is North Carolina. Thankfully, this one was pretty easy, as they play Wofford at home this weekend, and if North Carolina loses that, they are in big trouble. But that's not going to happen, and that'll get them to their 6th win before they lose on the road to NC State, and the Heels are going to go 6-6. The Big 12 has been somewhat weird, as actually 6 of their schools have already clinched bowl eligibility, and they have 3 who are fighting for it. The first team we need to talk about is the Texas Longhorns. If you would have told me they were going to miss the bowl a couple weeks ago, I would have laughed at you. But they just lost to Kansas, and I don't think they're going to win either of their last 2 games. They play on the road against West Virginia, and that is another team fighting for bowl eligibility, and I'm going to give the win to the Mountaineers, and then they play Kansas State at home, and if they can't take care of the Jayhawks, why on earth would I pick them to beat the Wildcats? Sorry, Texas, it's going to be a 4-8 season. One of the schools we just talked about was West Virginia, and they currently sit at 4-6 as well. It has been a disappointing year 3 under Neil Brown, but they have the opportunity to finish this year strong and get to 6 wins. They play Texas at home this weekend, and as I just said, I think they're going to beat the Longhorns at home, and then they go on the road to Kansas, and while the Jayhawks did beat the Longhorns this past weekend, I do not think they're going to win this game, and I think West Virginia is honestly going to get to 6-6. Good for Neil Brown, but his seat will still be pretty warm. Finally, we get to TCU. It looked like they were on the road to failure until they upset number 12 Baylor. That game may have saved their bowl hopes, and they may have an opportunity to get to bowl eligibility. They currently sit at 4-6, and they have a home game against Kansas. I am sorry, Kansas, I don't give you a lot of respect at this point, so I'm going to say that they're going to lose this game, and TCU will get to 5-6, and then they have a tough road matchup with Iowa State. This game is 50-50 in my eyes, as the Cyclones seem to play to their competition, and maybe TCU pulls off this upset on the road, but at the end of the day, I think Iowa State is going to win that game, and TCU is going to finish at 5-7. Just like the Big 12, the Big 10 only has 3 teams that are fighting for bowl eligibility at this point. Taking a look at the Big 10 East, Maryland sits at 5-5, and they have 2 very interesting games to finish the year. They play Michigan at home, and while maybe I could see an upset, I think Michigan's playing really good football right now, and Maryland has a pretty terrible home environment, so I'm going to give Michigan that win. The real game is going to come on the final weekend, as they play on the road against Rutgers. I think the Scarlet Knights are going to win this game because they're at home, and while Maryland's 5-5 right now, I think they finish at 5-7. Taking a look at the team I'm picking to make a bowl, it's Rutgers. They play at Penn State this upcoming weekend, and I don't think they really have much of a chance in this game, so that's going to put them at 5-6. They play against Maryland in their final week, as we just talked about, and I think they're going to get the job at home. And in year 2 under Greg Schiano, Rutgers is going to finish at 500 and be eligible for a bowl, which will be a really big deal. The final team in the Big Ten that we need to talk about is Illinois. They've upset number 20 Minnesota and number 7 Penn State on the road, and it's been a weird year for Brett Bielema. Can they do it again, as they'll go on the road to number 20 Iowa this upcoming weekend? I don't know. Well, Iowa's offense has been putrid as of late. I think the Hawkeyes are the better team, but I wouldn't be totally shocked if Illinois won. I'm going to chalk it down as a loss, though. In their final game, they play against Northwestern, and I think Illinois is going to win that game at home and get to 5-7. I have heard there will not be enough bowl slots, so when it comes to academic progress rate, if Illinois goes 5-7, they'll likely be the leading candidate to get a bowl slot. Good for them. The first one we need to talk about is the Washington Huskies. They have been pretty bad under Jimmy Lake, as they lost to an FCS school in week 1, and have kind of just not played well all year. They have 2 games where they can save it though. They play on the road against Colorado, who is worse than them, and honestly, I'm going to pick them to win that game. I think they're going to rally behind their interim head coach, and I think it's going to be a really close game against Washington State. It is coming at home, so I am actually going to go with the Huskies, as they're going to go from 4-6 to 6-6 under their interim head coach. The other school I just talked about was Washington State, and they are going to have an opportunity to get to a bowl game. While Arizona has been playing and fighting, I don't think they're good enough to beat Washington State on the road, so the Cougars are going to get to their 6th win against Arizona this weekend, and then lose on the road to Washington. 6-6 for them. Finally, we have to talk about USC. They're currently at 4-5, but they will have an opportunity to get to a bowl game if they win out. They play against UCLA at home this weekend, and sadly, I don't think that's going to happen. I think the Bruins are the better team in this one, and USC falls to 4-6. They then play number 14 BYU at home, and once again, I don't think they're going to win this game, and that puts them at 4-7 and eliminates them from bowl eligibility. Apparently, they are playing against Cal during championship weekend, and I think USC can go ahead and win that game, which puts them at 5-7. Because of that, we can cover Cal, but they're not going to get to a bowl game, as I think they lose to UCLA and eliminate themselves. There are 4 teams in the SEC East that sit at 5-5, and a lot of them play against each other, so let's see how this one pans out. Tennessee is currently 5-5, and they just lost to Georgia, but they are easily going to get to a bowl game, as they get South Alabama this weekend, and then Vanderbilt the following weekend, and that'll put them at 7-5. Congrats to Josh Heupel in year 1. The Missouri Tigers have had one of the worst defenses in the country, and honestly have not looked very good, but they're going to have an opportunity to make a bowl game. Because they beat South Carolina this past weekend, they gave themselves a chance, and they're going to be playing a struggling Florida team at home. Because I'm obviously biased, I'm actually going to pick Missouri to win this game against Florida and then lose on the road to Arkansas, but because I said that, I guarantee they're now going to lose on Saturday. I think Missouri will get to 6-6 in year 2 under Elijah Drinkwitz. Speaking of South Carolina, they have a pretty difficult road to bowl eligibility. Thankfully, both games are at home, but they first play against Auburn and then they play against Clemson. While I want to pick them in one of those 2 games, South Carolina really has not been very good this year, and they played pretty bad against Missouri, so I have no reason to think they're going to beat Auburn or Clemson. But to be fair, Bo Nix is out, and this is one of the worst Clemson teams we've seen in years, so maybe they pull off an upset, but as of right now, I can't pick all 4 teams to make a bowl game in the East, so I'm going to say South Carolina finishes at 5-7 in year 1 under Beamer. Finally, in the East, we get to Florida. They have been absolutely miserable as of late, and I think that will continue, as I think they're going to lose to Missouri this weekend on the road in a close game. Thankfully for their sake, though, I think they're going to get it together and play one of their better games of the year against Florida State and beat their rival to get to 6 wins. Will Dan Mullen keep a job? That's the question everybody is asking. And now for the last team in today's video, the LSU Tigers. Ed Orgeron's still coaching a team he was fired from, but he's still fighting to get to a bowl game. They honestly may have a chance, as they play Louisiana Monroe this weekend, and that'll get them to 5 wins, and then they play number 16 Texas A&M at home. As much as I want to pick them to beat the Aggies, I have no idea what LSU team will show up, so I'm going to go with the Aggies in this one, and LSU's going to finish at 5-7. So let me know what you think of today's video. What teams will make a bowl, what teams will miss, and what did I get right and wrong? Be sure to let me know down in the comment section, smash that like button, give me another topic I could do next, and check out all my other videos on the end screen. I hope to see you guys again soon. But until next time, peace.